Welcome to Hochoka Podcast.
I retreat to the edge of my dreams, empty my heart of haunting fears. I fly with the red-tailed hawk along the bank of rolling thunderheads into the mysteries of prayer. This is poetry that gives voice to the Lakota Way with heart-stirring, imaginative power. Hello, Matagiepi. Welcome to Hochoka here at the center of St. Joseph's Indian School's campus. I'm Scott Wooster, today's Hochoka host. Today, we're joined by the woman who wrote those words, Lydia Whirlwind Soldier. Born on the Rosebud Reservation, she is a graduate of Sinte Gleshka University and Pennsylvania State University. She is perhaps best known for her poetry, but she's also a nonfiction writer, teacher, business owner, and native craftswoman. She received the 2015 South Dakota Living Treasure Award in recognition of her preservation of traditional art forms. Welcome, Lydia.
Thank you.
I understand that you are a founding member of the Oak Lake Writers Society, which is now the Oceti Shakoi Writers Society. Can you tell us a little bit about the purpose of that society and how it came to be?
Yes. It started in the late 1970s.
Okay.
And it was Elizabeth Cookland, Arthur Amiot, and Charles Woodard who got us together. They thought there was a need for recognition of Native American writers in this area because there's other Native American writers, different places, but in our area it was lacking.
Right. It was underrepresented here.
Yeah. Yes, underrepresented.
Yeah. And that was about 50 years ago?
Yeah,
And
it doesn't seem that long.
Right. And it's still going strong. I was at the book festival last year or the year before, and I got to see a panel with all of you writers on that panel.
Yeah, I haven't been going because of my hearing loss. And but I loved it.
Right.
It was really a great opportunity for us.
Yeah. And you were one of the first writers that joined the Oak Lake Writers Society.
Yes,
and they keep bringing in new writers as time goes on, new authors, new Native voices.
Yes. It was open. It was an open invitation. But of course, they had to send in samples of their writing. So,
to make sure they could pass muster.
Yeah.
Your first book of poetry, which was Memory Songs, was published back in 1999, so about 25 years ago now. Tell us how you arrived at calling your poetry songs and why that's important.
Yeah. When I really study our language. I was 4 years old when I was taken to boarding school. And we were forbidden to speak our language. And so I'm always studying our language. And I feel like I still have a lot to learn. And I asked elders, what's our word for poetry? And everybody said, we don't have one. We don't use that word poetry.
Right.
So I asked Albert Whitehead, and he said, our poetry is in our songs. And yes, they are. And he sang some songs, and it was poetry.
Absolutely. And I think anybody who's ever heard of the traditional songs would agree with that, too. I really like that idea of songs as poetry.
Yeah.
And as a musician myself, that just makes sense to me. It really speaks to my heart anyway. Memory Songs opens up with Lakota Poet, which is a sharp, insightful poem that locates you in the strong Lakota tradition. Can I ask you to read Lakota Poet for us?
Okay. Is that Lakota poet?
Yes.
Okay. I wrote this. I didn't know if I could write poetry because I didn't know the rules of poetry. I've never studied it.
Yep.
And so I wrote this thinking, Lakota poet, am I really a poet? So I wrote, this Lakota poet, don't know, free form, free verse, prose, or oxymoron, or rhyme creation, faces gauntlet, intimidation, rules must conform to silver-tongued discrimination. Scholars say artistry must have documentation and linear confirmation. But this Lakota poet does have a literary tradition, philosophy, oratory, drama, music, oral tradition, and I don't need validation.
I love it. I love that. That is so great. That there's a lot to unpack there, right? Because it makes such a strong statement for you, for the culture, for using your own voice. And it also does it in a very strong understanding of the English language, too.
Yes, I think because my first language is Lakota, I think in Lakota, and there's a difference between our sentence structure.
Yep. Yeah.
And the way we say things.
Yeah.
And so sometimes my sentence structure is a little off.
Yep. Yep.
And I feel like I'm struggling sometimes. And so I think in Lakota.
Yeah.
And I try to translate it into English.
Okay. And you write your poems first in Lakota and then translate.
I do a few times.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
I have some poetry that is written in Lakota.
Yeah. So the process is kind of either way. You could write it in Lakota, or sometimes you write it in English and then you do the translation from there.
Yeah. I switch back and forth.
Yeah. I really like that. I like that particular poem. It's a real statement, I think. And even more of a statement to hear you actually speak it, because I think I'm a reader and I love to see it on the written page, but I love to hear poetry read out loud. So that was very, very nice. Thank you. So you mentioned off air that your grandfather once said that he wanted you to remember that you come from good, strong Lakota people, that you come from warriors, chiefs, and strong women, and don't ever forget that. I hear that loud and clear in Lakota Poet, in that poem.
He reminded us many times. He would say, ni Lakota, don't ever forget that you're Lakota.
Yeah, yep, and you certainly haven't.
Yeah.
You were born into a shifting era for Lakota people, which is an understatement, from the 1880s until the 1960s. The traditions, the cultural traditions, the way of prayer, the way of life, ceremonial practices were forbidden by the government. And obviously, the Lakota children were taken from their parents and put into boarding schools.
To be caught in that era?
Yeah.
Yeah, it was a difficult time because the boarding school tactic was to divide and conquer the kids, So there were the kids who didn't speak Lakota. And we were divided, us who spoke Lakota and those who didn't speak Lakota. So if the kids that didn't speak Lakota heard us talking Lakota, they would tell on us. So it was, that tactic really worked.
Oh yeah,
because. It was truly dividing us.
Yeah. Would you be willing to read collision of time for our viewers?
Collision of time in Lakota Point.
Please.
Yeah, this was a difficult time because it wasn't until 1968 when a Native American Civil Rights Act was passed. Mm-hmm. And so, this, and up until that time, it was really a struggle to try to remain confident in our own identities. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Okay. Collision of time. Time she wished to leave behind, memories that filled her hollow breast. Time she wanted to sing her death song, weeping for what she could not have. Time she wanted to throw away those relentless hours to the spirit wind. Watch them flutter and float like dead leaves in the fall, and embrace the comfort of Unchi Maka's warm shawl. Times when she wanted to live fulfilled and content. Let the foul-ups, mess-ups, and heartaches fade, because a deep voice within still sings those strong heart songs into the moonless night, defiant against the losses, hurting memories, and protected, while the spirit wind whispers, sometimes weeping, calling for the embrace of healing time. Times of harbored fear and empathy, a loved one's death, tentacles of grief grip her shattered dreams, left tantalizing out of reach. Succumb to the vacuum left by the passing, wipe the trail of tears from her brown face. Put it in the past, I say, throw them into their dark, somber resting places, turn them against the tide. Be saved by her strength and easy laughter, gifts from the spirit of time.
Mm-hmm. Powerful.
I wrote this, I thought of my great-grandmother. Mm-hmm. And I was in the boarding school when she passed away.
Okay.
And so, the last talking about death here, I was thinking of her.
Mm-hmm. It's deeply personal.
Yes, it is. Very personal.
And how old were you when you wrote this poem?
I don't know. It was, I had, I used to keep journals. Mm-hmm. And I just put my thoughts in those journals. And I had them stacked up in a bookcase. And one of my friends came over and said, "Can I read your journal, one of your journals?" So I said, "Sure, go ahead." And she was reading, and she said, "Lydia, I love your poetry." Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And I said, "I didn't know I was writing poetry."
Right. Yeah.
But, this probably was in the 60s.
Yeah. And so as a woman...
Yeah.
Trying to sort out experiences that you had when you were a young girl that had to have been, it comes through in your poetry, it had to have been such a difficult time to understand what was happening to you and to your people.
Yeah. We went home in the summer. Mm-hmm. And that's when I got my strength back. Mm-hmm. Yep. By May, I would almost depleted, because of all the things that were happening to us.
Yep.
And being shamed because of our identities and punished.
Yeah.
And we couldn't speak our own language. Mm-hmm. So it was a difficult time.
Yeah.
And by May, I would be, ready. Mm-hmm. I would be so happy to go home because then I felt confident. I felt my self-image was improved. I felt much, much better being loved, because in boarding schools, we didn't get that. We didn't get any kind of nurturing. Mm-hmm. And even kids that were sick would be laying on the benches in the playground, and nobody was paying attention to them.
Yeah.
So, going home to that nurturing, loving environment really restored me, restored my strength and my self-image.
It had to be almost like becoming a different person when you went home for the summer then.
No, it was like becoming a different person when I went to school.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah. Yep, there's the distinction. Yeah. And where did you go to school? Where was the boarding school that you went to?
I went to St. Francis Mission.
Yeah. In memory songs, there are two poems. One's about your great-grandmother and one's about your grandmother that they kind of introduce us to those two treasures in your life. Would you be willing to read a part of each? Maybe Unchichila as the poem to Elizabeth, your grandmother?
The title, Unchichila, my great-grandmother. She told stories by men, stories made by spirits, stories of animals who brought healing gifts. With the charms of her soft voice, full of energy and emotion, she told stories, Lakota stories that took life. There was something warm in them, sometimes something new. Eyes sparkling, she laughed at the irony of life. The following night, we waited anxiously to hear more. I once asked about the lights that shimmered and billowed far above the northern pines. She told the story of Wazia. Oh man, winter spirit. She motioned towards the north with her lips. She sang lullabies softly, beautifully. I remember her face, bloodlines that traced back, years that cannot be counted. Lakota features evident in the beauty of her dark, round eyes, high, broad cheekbones, and coppery skin. I remember once braiding her fine, thin hair, asking why the color was changing. I will never forget her laughter. Those perfections have not melted from my memory. Time has come and gone, recorded her passing in my genes. Yes, I still wish for her gentle hand brushing my hair from my face.
Mm-hmm. And you lost her when you were still in boarding school?
Yes, I was in school.
Yeah.
And the Whirlwind soldiers come from chiefs. And so when she died, BIA came after us because of our identity. Came after us children. And they took us home. It says 70 miles away. And it was the BIA took us home to her.
To be there for the funeral?
Yeah, for her funeral.
Okay. What strikes me about that is that those images of your grandmother are so clear to you when you write the poem as an adult, and yet you lost her when you were a child. It's so clear through your writing. I can see your grandmother through that, and obviously in your mind's eye, you must be able to see her as well.
I was 8 years old.
Yeah. That's amazing.
Yeah.
And to have such distinct memories is a treasure, isn't it?
I think those memories are strong because of the contrast between home and school. And you hang on to.
Yeah.
You hang on to what is dear to you, the love and affection and care that you get. You hang on to those things.
Yeah. Yep. That's powerful. And I've worked at this school now for 30 years. And what you're talking about happened, 60 years ago, probably. But I think it's important to remember that the kids that I work with now, still those memories they have of home or those thoughts of home are so clear to them while they're here. And I think things are better for our kids here at this school than they were in the past. But still, home is home, and that's home is so vivid for those kids.
Yes.
That really resonates with me. Thank you for sharing that one. And can we do? Can we also read a poem dedicated to your other grandma, Julie, Whirlwind Soldier? And again, maybe the first 3 paragraphs with this one.
Grandma Julie.
Yeah.
Grandma Julie. When leaves turn to flickering russet browns, coppers, and vibrant golds, happy memories I carry. Dreamy memories of summer days, bright and dry rainbows after a spring rain that hold the fragrance of earth, the horizon rimmed in the halo of the last rays of summer days, a reverie of colors bring warm comfort to my heart. Memories of times we walked the windy prairies and gentle hills of Bad Nation, intricate veins visible on her weathered hands. She pointed out the soapweed plant, Timsila Wachbechotati. We gathered buckets of black choke cherries, red plums, and purple gooseberries. We stopped often to rest our tired shoulders, standing, sometimes sitting. All those memories are captured in the fragrance of hot homemade bread, bean soup, and mojapi. Memories herald my love for nature. She taught me that too. A shared moment, we watched a spider weave a pattern, beautiful word in the umber and sienna sheet grass. And another time in awe, we watched an eagle soar, ascend into the high banks of white billowing thunderheads. I think of her when I feel the gentle swirl of raindrops on my face. Memories herald my love for the history of my people. I remember questions as I ask as I lay in the buffalo grass, watching ants carry beads from shallow graves on hilltops that held the bones of many generations, beads we never gathered. She said, "Don't leave them. They're not yours." Fragrant sage, sweet grass, and cedar she burned when she called our spirits home at night. All those memories of a time with her that seemed so long ago. When all brought the message, I was far away, but the image of beads came back to me. Those were the old colors. Colors so vivid, I can sense them without seeing. Green for the green grasses, plants, and herbs we collected. Blue from the prairie skies, orange and red from the fluttering flames of the wood stove, scarlet from the wing of the blackbird, yellow from the breast of the meadowlark. Sing sweet and clear. Those are the colors of the dreams she left for me.
So evocative.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's beautiful. Thank you for sharing that.
Thank you.
And that one is about your grandmother. Can you say her name again, please?
And Julie.
Julie,
yeah.
Whirlwind Soldier.
Yeah.
Yeah. And again, what a way to keep her memory alive, and what a way to share that those memories that you had with her when you were just a little girl. That's powerful. So, Lydia, I want to thank you and say wopila to you for being here with us.
Thank you for inviting me.
Absolutely.
I think this is a great opportunity for us to start trying to understand each other's cultures.
Absolutely. And I know it's an honor for me to be able to sit here and to hear these poems read aloud by you. And I also know it's an honor for our viewers to hear that too. So I'm glad we got a chance to do this morning. And for our viewers, I'd just like to say thank you for joining us here at the center of St. Joseph's Indian Schools campus at Ho-Chokeh, where we talk about issues that are central to Native American education today. Until next time, stay centered.